Shoppers of a certain age will remember that when they were kids, the go-to family car was a station wagon. In the 80s, that got replaced by minivans, and in the 90s and 2000s, well, that's the rise of the SUV. That brings us to today, where we're looking at three-row mid-size SUVs, and this happens to be one of the newest ones, the all-new 2023 Honda Pilot. Before we get too deep into this review, do us a favor, hit like and subscribe below to get all of our latest content. So let's talk about what's new with this 2023 Pilot. First off, style. It looks a lot more rugged, especially with this more upright grille, and it's just a little more boxy and a little more aggressive than before. The last one, well, it was a little softer, a little rounded edges and a sloping nose. And another thing that's kind of important to the styling of this is it's got a flatter hood for a little more presence on the road. Down the side, there's not too much to talk about, but we do have some plastic fenders here that might come in handy when we go off-roading, and we'll get to that in a bit. Right here around the back, we have these nice big chunky taillights that nicely frame this trim piece here with the bold all caps Pilot. Overall, it's a really nice, tidy design. I think they accomplished their goal of making the Pilot a little rougher, a little more rugged. Personally, I like the new personality of the Pilot. But let us know what you think. Are you attracted to this new, more rugged look? Or are you looking for something a little more conservative? Let us know in the comments below. Powering the Pilot is an all-new 3.5-liter V6 that's good for 285 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. And that's paired with a new 10-speed automatic transmission that drives the front wheels. All-wheel drive is available on every model, and it's standard on the top two trims. And one thing that is notable is this new engine and drivetrain gets 31 miles per gallon in combined city and highway driving. That's actually 2 miles per gallon less than its predecessor. But to Honda's credit, these new engines do emit far fewer greenhouse gases. As far as power goes, the Pilot has an adequate amount, but it's not really that impressive. But that makes sense for a family SUV. Now, I think for most drivers, they'll have plenty of power. They won't need much more than this. Now, the transmission's a 10-speed automatic. It's not a CVT, so it has a lot better response. It feels like it's right there, ready to get you accelerating. And the shifts are nice and smooth. There's none of that droning that you'll hear with some of the other CVT transmissions. Ride quality is really nice and smooth. It's a little on the soft side, which makes sense for a family three-row SUV. Now, when you're in the curves, you will feel some body roll, but it's not that disconcerting. I mean, it's not a sports car after all. Well, it's a good blend of handling and comfort. And as far as noise goes, well, we're hearing a little bit of road noise right now, but we are on a pretty coarse asphalt surface, so I'm willing to give it a pass for that. One thing that is a little different for me is actually the steering feel. It's super, super light, and even when I switch it to sport mode, it doesn't build up that much. Now, it seems right for a family SUV that you don't want really stiff steering that will eventually kind of fatigue you on a long drive, but I would like a little more effort just because it feels a little vague, almost like a video game. As far as outward visibility goes, this front roof pillar here is pretty thick, but I feel like I won't have to bob my head too much around sharp left turns. Now, that's also pretty typical of modern SUVs. I mean, a lot of the airbags and structural strengthening goes on there to give you the rollover protection that you need for those great test scores. And Honda expects the Pilot to get top scores, including a Top Safety Pick Plus rating from the IIHS. Rear visibility, not that great either, but again, pretty typical for SUVs in this class. The good thing is you get surround view cameras that will take all the guesswork out, but it is only standard on the top trims. Like every other new vehicle out there, the Pilot comes with a long list of advanced safety features. Right now we're using the adaptive cruise control, and it's doing a great job of maintaining the gap between me and the car in front. It's got nice inputs as far as braking and throttle, so it doesn't feel like you're kind of being yanked back and forth like this. It drives pretty much like I would drive, nice and smooth. Over the last couple years, the mid-sized three-row SUV class has been dominated by the Kia Telluride. It really just seems that every new competitor that comes along just can't quite surpass what it delivers, and that's space and convenience and power and performance. This new redesign pushes the Pilot a lot closer to that. I can't say for sure just yet if it's going to meet or beat it, but I would have no problem taking either of them at this point. Another alternative is the Nissan Pathfinder, which in my book comes in at kind of a close third place. Between all three of these, I don't think you can go wrong. Now, returning for the Pilot lineup this year is the TrailSport, which is their off-road version. Now, this time around, it's a lot more serious. It's not just an inch lift for the suspension and some aesthetic decals and stuff. No, this one actually has legitimate parts for off-roading to give it the kind of capabilities that you might expect from almost a Jeep. So we'll find out about that. My big concern though is this new suspension in the TrailSport might affect ride quality and comfort. So let's hop into one next and see how it drives. And here we are in the TrailSport. Now, ride quality wise, it doesn't feel that different, but I am feeling some kind of wobbling from the tires because these are all-terrain tires. These aren't all-season tires. These are true off-road tires. So you will expect some kind of lumpiness in those tires, and it's really not that bad. And that's nice. Now, it's also an inch taller in ride height, and I don't really feel that either. So that's pretty good. It doesn't feel floaty or kind of out of sorts on the highway. Overall, I think the TrailSport is comfortable enough for daily duty. I said duty. Now that we've confirmed that the TrailSport doesn't make any huge, significant changes to its ride quality, it's still quite comfortable, it's time to test out why it exists at all, and that's off-roading. We're on some moderate trails. There are some low-speed crawls, and this is definitely the kind of terrain that would cripple a lesser SUV. Now, with this TrailSport, it's not just an appearance package. You get 18-inch wheels with all-terrain tires. You have skid plates underneath that can actually support the entire weight of the vehicle on a single point, as well as a completely reworked suspension. You also get a lot of different trail drive modes. And we're currently in trail, which seems perfect for this. It's kind of narrow, lots of undulations left and right, even some pretty steep climbs over some big rocks. So to me, this definitely fits the bill for a moderate off-roader. And honestly, most people won't need to do anything this serious. But this is a family SUV after all, so that means that the interior is vitally important. So let's pull over and go into some detail. Here in the Pilot, the design of the dash doesn't mimic the latest dashes from Honda, like the Civic and CR-V and the new Accord, which have this mesh horizontal grille that goes across. Instead, and here's actually a better idea, is they hollowed this area out for some extra storage. Makes perfect sense, especially on long road trips where the passenger might have some extra snacks and phones and that type of thing. Overall, Honda makes good use of all available space. We have this large rubberized tray here with a single phone charger, large cup holders, and as an added bonus, in the door pockets, there's large cup holders that can accommodate those large 1-liter Nalgene bottles. Otherwise, you have a huge bin here that's deep. They said you can actually fit a full-size tablet in there. And there's plenty of other pockets, which is pretty indicative of what Honda is known for, clever use of storage. When it comes to seat comfort, these are really quite good. They're really heavily cushioned. I mean, they're kind of pillowy like a nice sofa. So I can see myself logging tons of hours on a long road trip without any fatigue. In the higher trims, you do get ventilated seats as well as heated seats. And overall, you have plenty of adjustments to find your optimal position. The cockpit has the right amount of buttons for me. There's just enough shortcuts for climate control where you don't have to go digging through menus, and the infotainment system itself is pretty quick, but the graphics seem just a little bit behind the times. If it's the new system, I would have expected maybe updated graphics. When it comes to interior quality, it's quite nice. Maybe not as nice as the Telluride in the top trim level, but this, I mean, everywhere you're touching is nicely padded. There is some plastic, but it's a nice high quality plastic. This infotainment screen, though, does seem a little small for the space it's occupying. I wouldn't be surprised if in following years they bump it up to 10 to 12 inches. Another great infotainment feature is the Trail Watch cameras. That's not anything new. A lot of other 4x4s have been doing that for years, but it gives you a really great indication of where you are on the trail and of any obstacles that might be lurking underneath. Also notable, right here it says Bose. This is the first time Bose premium audio has been thrown into the Pilot, and yeah, it's got nice punchy bass, which is what you expect from Bose. Here in the second row, there is a wealth of room, really, truly. I'm 5'10", sitting behind the driver's seat, which is set for me, and you can see there's just tons of knee room and plenty of space under the seat for your feet. Here above me, I have at least 3 inches before I start hitting the headliner, which means you can easily fit 6-foot adults back here. And then there's the killer app in my book, which is the center seat. Or is it? Here's the deal. It folds flat to be a little console with cup holders and a tray here, but you just pull a strap here, lift from the back, and this thing pops out, and you can pop it in the trunk and it fits underneath the floor. So that means if you're out and about and need another seat, it's still back there, not in your garage where it's doing you no good. To me, this is really smart design. Now, the Nissan Pathfinder does something similar where it's a removable console, but that console doesn't flip into a seat. Other things we have back here, we have our own separate climate control, heated seats in this top trim here. We have 2 USB ports and a household power outlet. Of course, this isn't the only trick. We've got to find out how much space there is in the third row. Follow me. Now, if you don't have the center pass-through open, getting past the second row is easy with just a touch of one button, and it doesn't take too much of a contortionist to get back here. And once I am back here, well, the space is adequate-ish. This seat here isn't reclined all the way back, so I do have some knee room, but not a whole lot of foot room in this well here. The key here, though, is the seat height. It is a bit lower than the Tellurides, which means you're not getting the kind of thigh support up here, but I have to say, I do have enough headroom. Now, materials quality isn't quite as nice back here, but that also makes sense because this is more about durability, and we are technically in the cargo hold. So we have hard plastic bits here for your elbows. They don't feel so great, but kids should be fine back here. Behind the third row, we have about 22 cubic feet of cargo space. That's comparable to the Telluride. Once you fold them down, which is pretty easy, that expands to 60 cubic feet. With the second row folded, that bumps it up to 114 cubic feet. That's sort of minivan territory if you ask me, so you should have no problem squeezing a ton of stuff in here. And as I mentioned, under here, that center seat fits perfectly, and really not a lot of effort to get it in or out. To me, that drives home the point that Honda is just good at packaging. Another great feature is this lid itself. Not only is it hide all your cargo, but you can flip it over, and now you have this surface that's better for wet objects. I mean, I'm not going to be gutting a fish back here, but if you have some surf equipment or whatever, it's not going to make everything wet and mildewy back here. After driving both the Elite and the TrailSport on and off-road, I gotta say, this Pilot is not making my job any easier. It is pretty much a dead heat between this and the Telluride. Prices start right around $27,000 for either of them, while the Pilot, that goes just past $50,000 for the top Elite trim. This TrailSport model starts just below $50,000. When it comes to power and comfort and cargo space, it is pretty much right up there with the Telluride. Now, the Telluride has a little bit more third row space, but this TrailSport will dominate it on a trail like this. Now, the Telluride does have some off-road capabilities, but they are much, much lighter. The Telluride is also just slightly more luxurious on the inside. But when it really comes down to it, really, the decision could be down to just aesthetics and personal preference. Now, if you do have some desire to get out and about and do some adventuring and some off-roading, this is definitely your pick. But if not, the Telluride might actually be a better choice. So that leaves the question, do you go for the Telluride or the Pilot? Let us know in the comments below. And if you go for the Pilot, do you go for the TrailSport or one of the more regular versions? Well, that's it for us from Sedona. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe below. We'll see you next time.